Greetings! Hello everybody! Welcome to Tokyo. It's a really hot day this afternoon, and this is the Only Japan Go channel where I'm going to be live streaming an experience that I had in Japan. One that was so frustrating and yet was such a good experience and set up the way that I deal with the media. It gave me a different way to look at life. It was when I got conned by this magazine, NEWSWEEK Japan. And it happened in the glorious year of 2007. That's 12 years ago. This happened, and since then it's still, been a big part of my experience in Japan. All right, let me go back and explain how all of this happened. It's not every day that you get asked by a major magazine like NEWSWEEK to be interviewed about the industry that you're in. Why me? That's one of the things I thought about when they contacted me. And I, of course, said yes. And what ensued over the next 2 weeks after the interview changed my life. And it changed the way, it changed a lot of stuff. All right, let me get into this story. This is the magazine here. This is NEWSWEEK Japan from 2007. You can see the date right there. December 26th, 2007. It came out like right during the holiday season, all right? And you can see it's about Nova. This is the time where Nova, the English school, failed. And this Eikaiwa English school was the biggest in Japan. It took a lot of money from customers, from students, and it created a massive scandal. And they interviewed me about this because I was the top teacher at an English school, one of the top teachers, I like to think. I was the one used in most of their media campaigns to promote them in 2006 and 2007. And then after this happened, I was no longer used by them. But I thought they were interviewing me because they wanted to learn about some of the aspects of what it takes to be a teacher in Japan. Some of the stuff that is the good things. Because I'm a positive person. I just thought it was about the positive stuff. I didn't know it was a hit job by the media. All right, let's run through this real quickly. I'm gonna show you some of the magazines, and we're gonna start from the beginning. So I used to be a teacher at a school called GABA, G-A-B-A. It's still one of the top English language schools because they do something called man-to-man, one-to-one English language. This is the first magazine I was in 2005, I believe, 2006. This is about Ikebukuro, and things to do in Ikebukuro for people in Japan would be to study English. And they used me. There I am, stiff with my finger gun. I like to be a little bit silly, saying, come on in and check out my lesson. Check out the lessons at Ikebukuro Gaba. There's my name right there in Japanese. And I was used a lot in promotional stuff like this. It got even bigger. I started working. This is when I started to work for Shueisha. I started my career with Shueisha. I don't know if I call it a career, as a model. And I met a lot of the directors because when I did these shoots, this is just one of about a dozen magazines that I was in back in 2005 and 6 and 7. This is Kimi Mori, who is a big model for Shueisha's No and More magazines. And she came in and took my lesson, and she wrote about how cool of a teacher I was. Did you understand? Yes, I see. All right. So you can see here's the process, and she really loved being a student of mine at GABA. I worked for them, and it was a big deal. So, this phone call comes to me from a news reporter. He was English, and he was working for a publication called The Independent. I guess it's a UK publication. And his name may or may not be David McNeil. I'm just saying, it may or may not be David McNeil. Yeah, we sat down at a Starbucks. There were only 3 Starbucks in Ginza at the time. It was the one not so far from Itoya, the stationery store. I remember it very plainly. We sat down there for over an hour. He interviewed me about my company, about why I was making videos. about my experience being an English teacher in Japan, about the things I loved about it. The 99% of the time, it was about this. All right. Then the interview finished. He closed his book. And he started to talk to me about some of the stuff, like, how much do I get paid? This is what he asked me, like, so how much, John, do you get paid? Now I was disarmed and I was young, all right? I'd never been interviewed by a major publication like this. So, how much do you get paid? How much do you work? Do you like your job? What are the challenges for it? What are they doing wrong? Things like this he started to ask me. And the interview was over, so I was, opinionated because I didn't think I was getting a fair deal all the time, right? Just a kid. Who am I? I didn't realize that I was the face of the company on many fronts, and he was using me to promote his article, and in the end, he didn't use any of the 99% of the interview. He used the last 5 things that I said. How much I made, how do I feel about the company, how do I, like, all those things that I thought were off the record, he used those, all right? The article was called, I know, the media, right? It's not everybody, it's just like 90% of them. So the English, this article was a special report, okay? Because it was a big deal when Nova failed. It was called, Mick English for the Masses, which is pretty much what it was. And it says, Nihon no Eikai wa, it's crazy. Japanese English language schools, it's a crazy system. And it still is today. Here's the artwork for the article. I don't think you can even get this online anymore. It's super hot here. All right. And I'm gonna put it over in this direction so there's a little bit less shadow. Here's the report that starts. Here's the next page. So I was a pretty big part of their article. I was a pretty big part of this article here. All right, now the photographer, I thought it was wow, they're gonna take my picture for the newspaper or for the magazine. That's so cool. They took 100 pictures of me in different poses around Ginza. This is the one that they used. I look really angry. Again, 99.9% of the pictures, I was smiling and being my normal self. One picture, I think it was, when I was in transition between a smile and swallowing or something, they got me looking angry. And I say this, right? They pay me 1,400 yen, or about $13 an hour, but they charge 7,000 yen per lesson. So it's like 60. So the customer, let's just say, pays $70, and they gave me $14. So they used the rest of it for their business and their promotions, and signed my name down there, John Dobu American. This is awful. This is so awful, right? Look at this. And then my name's down here. If you read it, you can see the close print on my experience, and I'm the pitch guy for this company. And there's GABA, G-A-B-A, the company I work for, in print, talking about it, about how awful they are and how little they pay, and blah, blah, blah. The McDonald's of Japan, the McDonald's of English language. This is a huge scandal at the time, because Nova executives walked off with the money. They didn't just get me, they got other people, some Nova teachers. He looks pretty angry too, poor guy. Why, they really make us look evil. There's Nova from back there, the Nova Usagi rabbit from the time. They make us look so evil, don't they? I've made, I don't know, thousands of productions. I've never looked so evil before, right? And look at the blur there. He had a flash going on. Wow, that was a tough day. I'm sweating because I'm reliving the memory, and it's like 99% humidity in Tokyo. All right, so how did this change my life? How did it change my life? DC Cataloni, hey John, I hope that you are having an amazing time in Japan. I hope that you see and I'm able to be in Japan for 2020 Summer Olympics, because I'm thinking of getting tickets. Greeting from the US. Thank you, DC Cataloni. The Tokyo Olympic tickets are really hard to get, but I think if you wander around the city, you're gonna find some. All right, back to the live stream. How did this change my life? Being featured in a national publication about a scandal that rocked the country, that was in the news 24/7 for like a month, all right? As the executives were found hiding in buildings with pockets full of cash. And here I am on the front page. All right, this publication, I didn't know what they were doing. So it wasn't until I picked up this magazine at the newsstand. I picked this up at the newsstand when I was going home for Christmas. This is how you ruin a holiday, okay? So it came out on a week before the actual publication date, the 26th. So I think it was like the 18th or 19th it came out. I picked it up at Narita Airport, and my jaw hit the floor of the airport, and I think I cracked it. No, I didn't. That didn't happen. I was shocked. My jaw was like, I was like, do I have a job when I come back? What are they gonna do? I was their pitch guy. I had just filmed 4 episodes of their podcast, which was #1 in Japan. And I also had by the way, what I was doing in Japan was also podcasting, video podcasting. So I also had the #1, and we had the top 5 video podcasts in Japan were mine, Gaba's, and like the Prime Minister of Japan. So I was a very little big deal in the country, all right? So my jaw's on the drum. I'm dragging my jaw across the floors of Narita Airport with this in my hand, this exact magazine. Going, what do I do? All right, my first thought is I'm gonna call the head office and just talk with them and say it's not my fault. And before I get on the plane, I gotta let them know like where this is coming from, because they gotta spin this. I may not love this company, GABA. I may not love them, but they're my employer, and I respect that. And I'm a team player, except for that, 20 seconds that they interviewed me at the end. I might not have been a team player. They got me. But I didn't want to hurt the company, because it's not just about me. There's a lot of other people working for this company. They're good people, and I didn't want to see the company go down. They were thinking about doing an IPO. What I just said had damaged their reputation. And in Japan, reputation is more important than money. Reputation is money, all right? You have a bad reputation, you can't make any money in Japan. You have a good reputation, then you can always have a job, you'll always make a living, and people will trust you. So they have to trust me. So I thought, what would somebody else do in the same situation? So I called them right away. I still had about 2 hours before my flight. It was one of the rare times where I got early to the airport instead of rushing. And I called him and I said, look, and they just asked me what happened. And then they put me through to the vice president, who's scarier than the CEO. Vice president was a very scary man. I think his first name was Bruce. He seemed like nice on the surface, but scary inside a little bit. I don't know. And then he asked me what happened. He was kind of nice. I guess he was more reserved because it's out of his hands. What can you do? Just damage control. And I told them exactly what happened. So they interviewed me about my business, about my company, about my podcasts, because they were #1 on iTunes Japan. They asked me these questions about the English language, about, I didn't give them anything about the students or anything that was, confidential. But I did tell them at the end, off the record, when they closed the books, about how much I made, some of my experiences, and some of the challenges. I say challenges because it's a positive way to say garbage about the company. And some of the people who watch the show often will know what that is. All right, turn it back. Turn it back to the story. And the vice president took it pretty good. He just said, okay, I understand that. Sometimes this happens. He took it better than I thought, because there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. But I explained it right away, and this is so important to keeping your job. And I reminded him that I had filmed 4 episodes, and maybe I'm not the best person to be, maybe they want to change those episodes as soon as possible. And I was just really upfront and honest with them, and I got to keep my job. That's the good thing about it. But I know I caused some problem for the company. And that problem, initially, it was a problem, okay? All right, initially, hold on a second. Initially, it was a problem because whenever you have, so we got some wind coming in, sorry folks. Initially, it was a problem because whenever you have an evil-looking picture like this, all right, it's not going to be good for the company, all right? And they write in the company's name. It's not going to be good for the company because millions of people back then were reading this magazine. So I knew it wasn't going to be good. So the fact that they let me keep my job, that was sort of a big deal, all right? and I promised that I would never do it again. The CEO of the company would recommend me to his friends and to celebrities. I was the one who was teaching actors, Japanese actors, TV talents, CEOs of major companies were learning English from me in a VIP room in Ginza at the Learning Center, they called them, which was a school in the center of Ginza. So I was well known. So I was glad that I could keep my job, but my career as their pitchman was over. I no longer would be in any of their publications. Not that bothered me, because I'd been in, like, you can't erase the dozens of PR campaigns I was already in. They didn't even pay me for that, I don't think. Yeah, I never got paid for that. They said that by being in these PR campaigns and showing my face, I would get more students, and it was true. But still, the payment every day for working really hard, I never made more than like $200 a day, and that was really, really like from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. I worked, and the most I would ever get was $200 a day. But I loved the job, all right? I loved the job. Now, post Newsweek, what happened? I don't take credit for it. I will not take credit for it, slightly. But not very long after this was published, GABA raised the wage that teachers made from 1,400 to 1,500 yen, 100 yen more an hour per lesson, which is for 40 minutes. And I don't take credit for that, but I do mention it here because I don't know. I'm always looking for something good that would come out of it. Maybe all this hardship and the pressure that they got for such a low wage. They took 7,000 yen from a student, and they only gave the teachers 1,400 yen, and they raised it up like 3%. I gotta say that that's a win. So that was something that was good. But not too long after this, I ended up leaving and then focusing on just doing my show. And it was the start of about 2 years of my life that were the most challenging, where I was in a transition. I still made videos for clients. I still was making videos, but I was not making a lot of money. My company was doing extremely poorly, and I didn't have this job anymore as a baito. It was sort of like a part-time job until I can get my company launched. But I learned a lot of stuff. One, don't trust the media ever. If the microphone is off and you say it's off the record, you need like a lawyer present, or you need your own microphone. So always record it yourself. If a reporter puts a microphone down, you also put a microphone down and say off the record. And then you have yourself recording. So if they ever publish something, you can sue them. Because I think that if I had done that, Newsweek would have been sued, or they wouldn't have published it, or they wouldn't have used me in the publication. They flat out used me in this episode and to hurt the company, right? So bring a microphone and record it yourself. At any time, anybody, for any reason, a lawyer, a reporter, a friend, talking about sensitive information, make sure you have a copy yourself. If not, just record it with a video too. Everybody has a smartphone, put it on a tripod and say, I'm gonna record this by video. And you never know, you couldn't use that copy. I wish I had that. The second thing is to make sure that you understand the parameters of the interview more clearly. Like, what exactly do you want to do? What exactly are you going to ask? Give me the questions in advance. Anything that you can get from the media in advance is very, very helpful. And if they don't ultimately use you, then you probably were going to be used in a bad way anyways. Now, is there anything that, like, in Japan, this is a big deal. All right. As I said, reputation is more important than the money. If this was America, we have something called redemption, right? If you are a singer, I'm not going to say any names, Britney Spears, you can go to rehab and come back stronger. And I think that that's really great. You can make mistakes, you can fall in America and come back stronger and have a second chance, often. In Japan, you can't. It's a country where it's very rare. People who fall or do something bad, they don't get a second chance. You're done. Because there's a dozen people behind you that are talented, or they can do the same thing, or you know, they're very good people too. It's next man up, next woman up. If it's a talent agency, I guarantee you're not going to be with that agency for more than a couple of months. They'll find the most convenient time to let you go, and then yeah, good luck finding a job anywhere ever. But this is, I think, was a big learning experience for me. And I started this show. This was in 2007, and I started this 2007, 2008. And I started Only in Japan, and I really started it in 2012, about a year after the tsunami hit, when Japan's tourism was dying. So that was a really tough 4 years of my life after that. But I learned a lot, and yeah, I won't do it again. I don't know, there's a lot of other advice I can give you. If you have any questions, it's a hard story to learn from Rights and Burning, absolutely. If you have any questions, you can ask me right here in the live chat. This is a live stream, or you can leave it in the comments below. I'm really happy to answer it about this. Yeah, it was pretty bad. The exchange rate was pretty bad for Americans 10 years ago as well. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they went after Lehman Brothers crashed in 2008. This is 2007. It wasn't very long after this that everything was going on. Like, the economies of the world were crashing. All right, and this was such a big deal in Japan. This was part of it, when like every kid in Japan, every adult and kid was studying at Nova. Like, it was huge. It's at every station front. It's like the biggest thing. It's a McDonald's of English language. It was everywhere. I think they had as many locations as McDonald's. You'd eat a burger and then go take an English lesson. It was like $10 a lesson for in a group of 20 or something. It's a big deal, and like, I didn't want to be the face of that. But is political stand an issue? What do you mean by that, DP? Recording is last line of defense. Yeah, I think you should always have a recording. How did this incident affect your next media interview? Jim, I think I could get a sense. This is a really good question. I don't, and I tell you to take a recording of it, and I didn't do that until maybe a couple of years ago. I didn't start putting down my iPhone and start taking recordings. But what happened was, in the next interview, I could sense what the publication was, and I could sense what they wanted out of the interview. After you have a bad experience, you become a little bit more cautious, and you can sense what they want. And anyways, there wasn't anything big that I was doing after I left this English school that warranted being in interviews until I started Only in Japan. And that's a whole nother story. This is a whole nother story that I can engage you with in another live stream. It happened in 2013 or 2014, where I made the front page of a major national newspaper because the Prime Minister had just called for an increase of tourists to 20 million, this lofty goal, because Japan was so low in tourism, and Only in Japan was one of the main videos on YouTube, and I had 2 or 3 viral hits, including the Japanese amazing toilet and the Japanese vending machines exposed. This is like way in the beginning of Only in Japan. They put me on the front page of the newspaper explaining what I did, and then I started to become a regular analyst. Not a talent, not through an agency, directly between me and the TV stations, an analyst to tell them about tourism to Japan. And that was a second part of my media life that started in 2013, 2014. It's now 5-6 years ago. But I learned a lot from this. This made me a man, because it really hurt me. I mean, look at the picture. It's like, this is not me. I do look younger. That's not me. Did they Photoshop that? How could they make my eyes even darker? Look at that. It's awful. I get paid 1,400 yen and the company makes 7,000 yen. John Dobb. It's true. In my defense, it's true. It's a true story. Yeah. I got so many stories. The last 21 years, as I said, have been incredible. It's been like a massive roller coaster ride. So there's no end to the drama but most of the stories are really good. But this one was one in a chapter that I'll never forget. And going home on that airplane to the United States, again, like, I got this at Narita Airport, picked it up, and I'm reading it again and again on the flight. It's a 14-hour flight. I'm out of communique for 14 hours until I get to New York. And I touched down in my emails. I don't think I had a smartphone yet. Is it 2007? I don't think I had an iPhone yet, or I did. And when I got home, the emails, I just had a ton of them. Nothing from Newsweek, no official apology, but I learned that you cannot trust these news media people to tell the truth. This also happened when I was in Europe in 1998. Let me take you back another 10 years. I was in Hungary. I got a visa to go to Yugoslavia, to Serbia, which was a country that was being bombed by NATO. And I went there the day before a bomb was dropped on Novi Sad, and it was fine. Like I never really saw, hold on a second. I'm always impressed with these boats. I don't know. That's a Hotaluna. Hey, they look like they're from another dimension. The space boats. Yeah. Just pause for a moment for that. I'm just gonna walk because it's cooler this way. So yeah, I got a visa to go to Serbia in 1998, and I didn't really see a lot. I think the media overblew what was going on over there. There's some bad stuff happening in the former Yugoslavia, but I don't think it was as bad as the media always made it out to be. Because I remember arriving in Novi Sad, and everyone was just so happy, so friendly. And then I went to Zagreb in Croatia and Slovenia, and the Croatians and Slovenians were talking about the experience. He goes, yeah, it's pretty bad, but it's not quite as bad as the media is bringing it out to be. It's not like a war zone. Because I was hitchhiking with some Croatians, and Serbians were picking us up. There were Serbians picking up Croatians and Slovenians who are at war with each other, and they're like, yeah, it's not a big deal. I was like, oh my gosh, the media kind of exaggerates a little bit. But that's been my experience. You said, take everything. This comes from personal experience, everybody. All right, and this is why I'm not such a political person, why I try to avoid politics. The things that you see, and I'm not going to reiterate fake news and all that. I think that does happen, but I don't think it's as prevalent. But I could see why the president would call them out more often, because it covers everything, and it's like as an insurance policy. But I see a lot of fake stuff in there, and I can understand that because I've experienced it myself. The media will do what they can to sell a story. On the other side, there are very responsible journalists, but I know that they have to. It's a business too, and same with YouTubing. Actually, YouTube's a business. I see more and more like sponsored ads, Squarespace, and now I'm giving them free airtime. Like everyone's adding stuff in. It's a business. You have to make a living out of this stuff, just like the reporter did. And I don't fault him. That's just his way. I'm very forgiving, because there's nothing I could do at this stage except for learn from it. And if I ever meet Mr. McNeil again, I would shake his, what would I do? I wouldn't spit on, no. I'd smile and say how he's doing and how's his life and what's changed since the last time I saw him, and do everything except for talk about Newsweek. So what's your new project, Mr. McNeil? That's probably what I would talk about. And I probably would be more friends with him than I would with the company that at that time I was a part of. Once you leave the company, I don't have too much loyalty towards them anymore. Yeah. There you go. There's a story. What TV station can you recommend? DP, I don't recommend any. Look, I think if you're gonna, this is my 2 cents on this. I don't watch any of the opinionated shows where it's a talking head every time and say that this is the person you trust. I think you can trust people because reporters are people, but you have to trust the institution that's behind them as well. It's the reputation of the institution and the editor that is most important, not just the reporter. This is how I feel. And I think since I left America, it's just become even more segmented, and it's sort of heartbreaking for me to see. And I don't get into the politics. I never vote for president on party, for example. I would say I'm neither left nor right. I'm like that. When it comes to president, when I vote, I will listen to everything that they have to say and vote for the best person. That's how I do it. Never for a party automatically, because the job is not follow party lines all the time. It follows the ability to get things done and work with people and do the best. That's who is the best person to get things done, whether you agree with them or not sometimes. And that's always the way of thinking I go into a presidential election. So I'm not going to tell you who I voted for, and I definitely I'm not any party. Yeah, that's just how I feel. And when it comes to TV news, I would, if I were you, I would just watch them all. And if you hate one or the other, if you hate like MSNBC or you hate Fox News, then maybe you're missing the point. You just take whatever they say with a grain of salt on both sides, and whatever's in the middle is probably what's true. And I think in this article, and this is what I'm going to end you with right here. In this article, I even made a copy because I don't know how long forever. This is the copy. It's still kind of cool. I kind of like having been used because it's just this cool thing that happened in my past. But I'm going to leave you with this, okay? This is my takeaway, my ultimate takeaway. There are some truths in this, all right? The way that Mr. David McNeil wrote this article, it was a hit job. It really was. But with all hit jobs, there is an ounce of truth in it. And I think for everybody who's reading this article, as I just said, you should read both sides of it and find what's in the middle. What are the things in the articles that are the consistent things between the left and the right, and the far left and the far right, and the center left and the center right? And I don't think anybody's really in the dead center. Maybe I am. But I think in the center of all of those things is probably the truth. And that's what I've learned. That's my takeaway from this. Because it is true, exactly the caption here. I did truly make 1,400 yen per lesson, which is like $14. And the company truly did make $70 from the student, 7,000 yen. And I truly was underpaid because they recommended me and I was their pitch guy, and I never got paid for being in any of these magazine modeling shoots or anything like that. But I was grateful anyways, because I know that the Japanese system is that if someone trusts you, that's actually a good thing, and in the end you will do better from it than saying no and having nothing come to you. At least my lessons are always full, because the system at this English school was that popular teachers got a lot of money, a lot more money, and non-popular teachers, if you stunk, then nobody would take your lesson and you have a reputation of being a bad teacher. I was always booked. Like, my schedule was released and I was booked solid for the entire month. That's how incredible it was, and how quickly it just dissolved after this. But my takeaway is whatever's in the middle, read more than one publication, and whatever's in the middle is probably the truth. And I think that goes even today in 2019. Yeah. Any other questions? Just YouTubers like John reading newspapers. I don't know what that means. This David McNeil has a Twitter account. Go write him a nice tweet. Don't bother him too much. Just say that I'm grateful for the lesson. And this is my message to Mr. McNeil. Hey, Mr. McNeil, I'm now a YouTuber. We got a million subscribers, 150,000 on this channel. And what I have to say to you is thank you. Because you introduced me to the reality of what the media is today. And I'm grateful for the chance to have learned it from you. You were very nice to me in the interview. I never heard back from you after the hit job. But I'm still very grateful for the experience and for you contacting me and for giving me the story to tell the people. All right. I'm very thankful for you for the chance to tell this story. I tell that to Mr. McNeil. See, John Dobb thanked you for the opportunity to tell an amazing story about an interview from 12 years ago where you conned him into making a hit job on Nova. And maybe he remembers it the other way. But ask him for his tapes. And if he does deny it, ask him for his tapes and see if he has anything that I said on the record. He probably doesn't have them anymore. I don't know. I would have deleted them right away. Shredder. Hammer. What do you mean? Tapes? Hammer. We had digital cassettes tapes back then. But a very interesting time in my life. Any last questions? Hi from Arizona. If you do, a couple of notes here. I have a Discord server. If you're a gamer or you're not, download the Discord app. The link is going to be provided by in the comments as well as by our moderators right now. Do go in there and follow. I usually will do a sometimes telephone chats, but I often go in there and talk to people in the chats and answer questions in our Discord server. It's free to use for everybody, and it's 24/7 only in Japan. If you're interested in coming to Japan, a lot of the people in there have been to Japan and will give you advice. So I think it's a place where you can get some advice. We have about 2,500 really great community members in there. Yeah, and if you want to support the channel, there's Patreon, and I'm going to be adding emoji into the live stream. That's a message to our moderators, Nosh, Ramsey Silent, Jim, Purple Bandit, everybody. I'm going to be adding emojis and adding the sponsorship thing through the channel, through the Go. And it's not going to be really expensive stuff, just the ability to get special emoji and you get badges to be cool. I don't know. People said it was something that would be really fun. So I think it'll be fun. And it helps to promote the channel. It helps to keep the channel going. The other thing is that I had a lot of other news. There's another new episode on the main channel that's going to drop this week on conveyor belt sushi, but from a different angle. Just unsubscribed. Thanks, Nosh. Whatever. Some people aren't always happy. What are you going to do? And what else is going on in the world of only in Japan? I'll be making a trip with Kanai to Awajijima in Hyogo Prefecture, as well as going back to Niigata and doing another trip, I think, down to see Kevin Riley, our friend with the beard, the king of Osaka and Kansai, once again in the middle of the month, next month. So it's going to be extremely busy over the next 60 days for only in Japan. The summer heat is starting to break a little bit. It's still hot if you're in the sun, but I can tell you that when autumn hits, that's when I get super, super busy because, yeah, haters gonna hate. That's right, Nosh. I'm gonna get super busy because there's just so much stuff to cover, and it's an endless story that's coming to me. I might go to Tokyo Game Show as well on the 12th, which is the media day, because there's some more stories with gaming. The industry has changed a lot, and I want to cover that again. So it might be a Tokyo Game Show in September as well. I think it's September 14th and 15th is for the people, and 12 and 13 for the press. And I'll be at the press day, not the people day, because I got to do some other stuff. That's at Tokyo Game Show takes place at Makuhari in Chiba every year. So I'm looking forward to that. It's been about 2-3 years since the last time I went to Tokyo Game Show. And that's about it. Can we see Kanai dancing again? Yes! Yes! We've been talking about Kanai dancing again for us. She did that about 1.5 years ago as I introduced who she was and what she does. And it was a beautiful dance that she choreographed the night before, which is incredible. She's really good at dancing, and that's what she does. She's a teacher for ballet and contemporary dance to children. So we're trying to get her to choreograph another dance for us to take place at the same place, and I might invite people at a meetup to watch her dance. I haven't told her that part yet, but I'm also planning to do a meetup. It has been that long, Carlos. It's been that long, and I'm also planning to do a meetup for those that are going to be in Japan in September, the end of September, probably the last week of September. If you're in Tokyo at that time, then we will do a meetup so you get a chance to hang out a little bit. I haven't done any this year. The next midnight snack run I will do this week. It's just imminent. It will happen because it's been a while and I'm hungry. And I've been on a diet, to be honest with you. That's another thing. I've had knee problems, so I haven't been able to run as much and exercise as much. So I put on some weight, and my knees are feeling better. So it's time to eat more and exercise more. So, any plans for October? October, November, the rest of this year, I'm not really sure, but I do have a lot of ideas that I've planned, and I'm just waiting for confirmations on location shoots. Before I go and shoot an episode of Only Japan, I usually get permission to film, or I work with the people on the other side to make sure the episode is accurate and informational. So I'm just waiting on a couple of things. The schedule for September is pretty much set. October, November is not. But December, Kanai and I are probably making a trip somewhere to do some meetups, meet people. We're not sure if it's going to be like Hawaii, Europe, or back in the US, Montreal again, Canada. We're not sure yet, but it'll be on the Discord server, Patreon, Facebook. You'll find out whenever I go anywhere. Tahiti would be nice. I was in Tahiti in 2002 for Christmas. No, the New Year. I spent New Year Bora Bora 2002 in Tahiti. That was a pretty amazing time. I was camping. I couldn't afford the hotels, so they let me pitch a tent for $20 a night. It's a pretty interesting experience. I will be attending the 2020 Olympics. I'm just answering your questions at this point of the live stream. I will be attending the 2020 Olympics. Will I be going inside any of the venues? I don't know. I didn't get any tickets. I struck out. But that just means there's other opportunities. Like in Tokyo. So you can be guaranteed that I'll be filming events all around for the Go channel, live streaming it, finding 5G points to get amazing signal speeds to you in HD live. So you can see, you're going to see some changes. Did you just use your phone? Yeah, for my equipment, I can't really turn it around and show you, but right now I'm using the DJI Osmo 3 gimbal, iPhone XS, the smaller one, and a wide angle lens to give you a bigger field of view. Yeah. The wide lens is pretty useful, but it's kind of bulky and a pain in the neck to balance out the phone. So I'm looking forward to the new smartphones with wide lenses in them, because I think nobody wants to see you like right in your face. I think you need a wide point of view for YouTubing. It's just not a beautiful look when you get into somebody's face like this. You want to see as much as the picture as possible. Will you be able to get the coveted press pass for the Olympics? The thing about the Olympics, and this is a message to any of the YouTubers in Japan that are thinking about covering the Olympics, it doesn't matter how many subscribers you have or your agency, the rights for the Olympics, all of the events are purchased by, in Japan, NHK and NBC internationally. So actually, you're not allowed to broadcast live this opening ceremony with your smartphone, technically. So if you get a press pass, it has to be, you're probably just going to be a writer or a photographer, but you cannot do the, how do I say, like video. Like live streaming it would be very, very not possible for the opening ceremony and the closing ceremony, or even some of the events. So it will just be, right, Nosh, our moderator writes in, Nosh Abroad writes in, it'll just be taken down by NBC, and you'll probably get a copyright strike. We all know, I think in advance, that it's not the best thing to do. However, it's going to be these stories around the venue and the athletes after the events that are available. I got in trouble broadcasting from a judo live stream at the Judo World Cup last year, and I just had the events going on in the background as I was filming myself, and they asked me to turn it off and to take it down, and they'd invited me. I wasn't sure what I was doing there. Just ask that in advance too. But that you won't be able to, if you're a YouTuber, you won't be able to video the events, and it'll just give you a copyright strike if you're discovered. It's a game of Russian roulette, I guess. Taylor Mack remembers the judo live stream. That was pretty cool to go and see, but nothing really came out of it. I was hoping that I would get like a job being able to introduce the background of judo to you, but I don't know. They seemed a little bit uncoordinated with this. I met some good people though. Met some good people. Had a good time with Kevin Riley. Yeah. I'm with the phones. Check out OnePlus. Yeah, I think there's going to be more in 2020. I'm probably going to get another smartphone other than an Apple, but I might get another Apple anyways this fall, because if the lenses are wide, again, this is what I do. This is my job. So having this camera is a tool that makes money for me. This is my job. So it's an expense. And I get enough super chats that I should be able to bring you the highest possible quality of signal and the highest quality of coloring and phone and angle. That's why I have the newest gimbal and the best wide angle lenses available. So you get the best. I guess it's a write-off. I guess you can call it that because it's an expense, right? If you are in this as a occupation, YouTubing, then you better, and you're doing this full time, then you better invest in yourself. If you're making money, you have to invest in it, or else people aren't going to support you. They have to see that you're you're using the money to grow. That's why I have Hana, who's working with me. I have another editor who's helping me with setting up some of the videos. He's in a couple of them for me that haven't released. But yeah, these are not expenses, assets. I guess you can call that, yeah. But the things you pay for, they're assets that you build from. That's a better way to put it, assets than just expenses. Oh, thank you, Photolook Hawaii. I appreciate that. These super chats go into supporting my wife as well. I think that's probably where they go, especially when Ramsey Silent super chats when I'm on a location shoot. Those go straight into buying like flowers and candy and boxes of sweets to say, hey, honey. And Ramsey Silent was never here. I didn't. He's someone. A lot of the people are watching my back to make sure that, although I spend a lot of time on this job, that I also focus on my home life and I take care of my health, and I never forget my wife, and I never will. But it's really nice that our community also does too, because my wife is also a part of the live streams. She's part of this series, Only in Japan Go. So I appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. How much do mobile plans cost? What is even a super chat? Joseph Frost writes in. It's the ability. I think somebody just super chatted here. Anil Rivera writes in here. Today is my birthday, and getting a Note 10 as a gift. So Anil, happy birthday! Big shout out to you. I'm so glad that we can celebrate this together. I should be giving you a super chat today, but I appreciate the support. I hope that you enjoy your Note 10 Plus. That's a pretty cool device. Let me know how it is, actually. I'd love to get some feedback on that. Yeah, super chat is an ability where you can give a creator money, and it also gives you a chance to highlight what you're saying so I don't miss it too. And it makes an impact. We have some amazing supporters who give big super chats that shock and awe our audience sometimes, and that's so cool because it makes us drop our jaws in a positive way and like, what just happened? That's what I love about live streaming. Anything can happen. Like that guy, these guys could just fall off or be eaten by a shark. That could happen. Well, probably not, but it could because we're live. Or hit a boat. But that didn't happen. Just saying. Live is fun. Live is fun. And another one I'll tell you. Failed offerings, no one will drop that amount of money on a live stream. It's just, unless you're like Pootie Pie or something for looking for love. And in fact, he would get it. But I appreciate it. I was hesitant for a very long time to activate something called the sponsor button. And I'm going to talk about that in another live stream. I guess join or sponsor. I'd rather call it just another way to make the live streams more fun and to generate more revenue out of this as well, because you never know. I remember in a Twitter post, there was another YouTuber in Japan who was a little bit critical of me and our moderators for always posting the Patreon link, right? Like I'm begging for money, and that's not the case at all. But I will tell you that YouTube is a very competitive platform, and all the YouTubers agree with me on this. You want to continuously grow what you have. You have to grow, or else right now, a lot of celebrities in Japan are starting to become YouTubers. A lot of celebrities in the US are starting to become YouTubers, and it's becoming even more competitive. It will never stop being competitive, and that's what's great about YouTube. Anybody, anytime can go in and become a YouTuber. But it also requires, if you're gonna do this full time, a living. So you have to find creative ways to eke out livings. And I say eke out because I know that there's other creators that aren't doing as well. But I think if you keep at it, like the beginning of this career was hard. Like, as I said, I had 4 years after this article, 4 years where I was making like less than $10,000 a year. All right, I was really starving, and I worked my butt off, and that's how you kind of succeed. I guess it's this. That's something I took from America. I think like anything is possible, right? And that's if I see too often people are very negative on the U.S. a little bit too much, but I see the positive thing is that there's always hope. There's always a chance. That's just the way I feel. And I took that, and even with the hard times, I still kind of stayed positive, and now I'm where I am, and now you have to grow that. Not maintain it, you have to grow it. You have to continuously grow and move forward. Evolve, make it fresh for the viewer, make it an improved experience. I hope that makes sense to you. Thank you, David McNeil, because I learned that from this experience. It all started with NEWSWEEK Japan. Why don't you do sponsorship videos like many of the others? I don't know. I think America. Thank you. America's generous too. I gotta tell you, Americans are the most generous people in the world. And with charities, I think the government does pretty good. But when it comes to charities and tipping and taking care of everybody, Americans do a really good job of that, of each other, I think. And you don't hear a lot of stories like that. And I wish there was some more positive stuff. Joshua, hard work always pays off. Joshua Skidmore, thank you so much. Absolutely does. Yeah, so you're always getting better and better, and that's what you have to do. As I get older and older, and you have to become more competitive. I don't do sponsorships. Sponsors control the direction of the video, Nosh writes in here, and I agree with Nosh. I don't know what the future's gonna be, but I think I have grown pretty well since I started because of a recipe that I put the viewers first. I think I work hard on each video almost to the point where I get very little sleep because I want you to have a good experience, and I make money off of that. Mostly my biggest source of income is through Patreon. That's the biggest source of income, fan generated, and that connection that I have with the viewers, and maybe you get through the super chats, that's the most important thing to me. So I don't have a problem with when a creator does an ad in the middle of it, if they do it especially in a creative way, which I think Nosh has also shown me before, or some of the other moderators have shown me creative ways that other YouTubers are adding in the ads. You don't just stop and do it openly. You would do it in a creative way. That I might do that. But the bottom line is this: if it's not of value to the viewer, then it's a waste of time. If anything is not of value to the person on the other side who's watching this, don't do it. It's not important. I told this to Jennifer, said if you're gonna do a live stream, it has to be something that's not important just to you, but it has a value to whoever's watching it, because that's why they're watching it. It's just it's so simple, right? David Kimurta's here. Hey, John and Nosh and UFO Bob and Ramsey Silent and hello, hi, Jim 821. How you doing? Failed offerings, Pledge of Allegiance to only in Japan. You will never take the American out of me. And if you're German, if you're South African, if you're French, if you're Korean, we would never expect that of you either. Wherever you are in the world, the country that you were born in and raised in, you should have pride, and you should have some pride in that. All right. And when and I don't know, you should be proud in who you are and where you came from, even if it's not something that's good. That's who you are, right? And everybody evolves from that. I'm still John, but I'm American, and that's important to me. Last question. I try to do these. The reason why a lot of these live streams, by the way, are a little bit longer is because people are getting the notifications later. And if you're watching this in playback, you're going, God, I couldn't stand taking an hour. The reason why is because I usually will set aside an hour for the live streams, and people get the notifications at various times. We usually get about 650, 700, and depending on the topic, like 1,000 viewers. I'm happy to see new trade agreements with Japan. Yeah, politically, I'm not. I watch the news, but I try to stay out of it. I'm just kind of hurt with what's going on between Korea and Japan right now. It's for me personally, I don't like the situation. I think so much more is possible if the two countries can put the past behind them. And asking for apologies from people from a generation that are gone is not a way to move on from it. It's too much what Korea is asking for, and too much. What happened in the past is in the past. You have to put that behind and move on, and it's better for the people. And if your pride is that high, then nothing good comes from it. Then it becomes a sin, I think. One of the evil sins. I just watched that movie Seven in the background while I was editing a video. It's like pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. So you can take it too far. Can't we all just get along? Yeah, can't we all just get along a little bit better? I'll take that to the next stage. Can't we all just get along a little better? All right? Can't we just a little better? And Koreans should have some pride because they have a long history and some amazing food, and they're some pretty incredible culture, and they work really hard in Korea. I have a lot of critical things to say what's going on, but I have some wonderful things to say because I've been there many times. So I don't think there's a country where I have negative stuff to say about. Don't try to instigate either, internet. The past can hurt. You can either run from it or learn from it. Exactly. Failed offerings. I think we learn from it. We move on. Japan is a pacifist constitution. And if you keep... And the thing is, like, nobody in Japan wants a military. But Japan wants to defend itself. That's why we have a self-defense force. 99 out of 100 young people are like, we don't want an army. We don't want to have, like, what everybody else. We want to be a peaceful country and just do manga, anime, video games, and work really hard. Make cars and cameras and sensors and stuff like this. Compete. So I think that when you instigate and you push on things like this, it makes people do the opposite of what you expect. And I just want to point that out. Like the bad blood is not good right now. It's really, really hard situation between the two countries. 2002 World Cup, when Japan and Korea hosted it, was like such a high point, and I wish we can go back to stuff like that. I'd like the 2020 Olympics, where we would just say thank you to Korea. How about that? To give a shout out to our neighbors. And when the Olympics were in Korea, the Winter Olympics 2 years ago, it would have been nice if Korea gave a shout out to Japan, and we had that kind of love where America and Canada work together. I'd love to see that. Yeah. Big things. Think big. I have to admit though, I do like having our Navy and Air Force and Marines in Japan a little bit because I like them. A lot of them are such good people. And I get to meet them every now and then. And I get to go to the base, and they got American supermarkets and stuff, so it's a chance to get stuff from home. So I kind of like that. So I don't know, get mixed feelings. All right, so that's all. I appreciate all the questions, everybody. Once again, if you've watched this long, you're like going, where is this? I was featured in this magazine in 2007. It changed my life. They duped me. I thought it was a beautiful article on the industry in Japan. It ended up being a hit piece with a picture like this that made me look angry, saying that I make 1,400 yen or $14 and the company makes $70. True story. Yes, the writer duped me and he did this off the record and he deceived me, but I'm not angry anymore. I've moved on and I've learned from it. And my takeaway that I expressed 30 minutes ago was that if you're watching the news, watch not one channel, watch them all, even if you disagree. And whatever's in the middle between the two news groups is probably where there's the most truth. Points and the facts of what they're talking about is there, then that's probably the truth. And that's who I am. I'm that guy in the middle that they always talk about, like, how could you not pick a side? That's me. That's me. Yeah. So there you go. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Have a good night. The last 20 seconds is dedicated to the Tokyo Sky Tree, which I was here just a few days ago with Dan and his wife Enja, and it's a beautiful day in Tokyo. If you do come to Tokyo, you want to check out this area, Scuda area across the bridge here. It's a really lovely area. Bye, guys. And thanks so much for the support.